Chaos on Capitol Hill ensues over President Trump's extreme vetting order, sparking heavyweights like DHS Secretary John Kelly and Speaker Paul Ryan to clear up what they argue is some of the mainstream media's misreporting. Here's White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
Because when we use words like travel ban, that misrepresents what it is. This is not a Muslim ban. It's not a travel ban. It's a vetting system to keep America safe. It can't be a ban if you're letting 1 million people in. No, I'm not confused. I think that the words that are being used to describe it are derived from what the media is calling this. He has been very clear that it is extreme vetting.
Here to discuss Ebony Williams, Adriana Cohen, and Zuhdi Jasser. Zuhdi, let me go to you first because initially, of course, the mainstream media characterized this as a Muslim ban, and then, of course, the travel ban. And the White House is simply saying it's a suspension from certain countries deemed dangerous to this country, and it's temporary. How do you feel about the way this whole thing has been rolled out and the way it's been characterized in the media?
Well, you know, Charles, hold on to your seats. We haven't even done anything yet. The pause was supposed to be to begin to have a conversation in America about what extreme vetting means. And the left has immediately turned it into an identity politic issue, as if somehow all of us Muslims think the same. You have you have Majority Leader Pelosi whispering into Andre Carson's ear today, on a hot mic saying, tell him you're Muslim, tell him you're Muslim. I mean, basically, they're equating being Muslim with anyone coming into this country, and that's absurd. At the end of the day, there's nothing more pro-Muslim, Charles, than vetting against jihadists, vetting against Islamists, and he hasn't even convened the commission yet that would begin to lay out the criteria. There's just a pause to talk about it, and you see how dysfunctional the left is in talking about it. Now, having said that, it has been rolled out a little. The messaging has been poor. The messaging should have been better. And at the front lines, we need to make sure that we don't screw up how we do this with folks that have visas and already have permission to be here, because that'll make the messaging even more difficult.
Well, to your point, a couple of things have already been adjusted over the last day and a half or so. So whatever tweaks I think need to be made are going to be made. But Adriana, I got to tell you, watching Sean Spicer, for instance, today, it was like watching old school tag team wrestling. I mean, it's like, you know, he had the MSNBC person down, and then she kicked the New York Times person under the bus, and he took that person down. It was exciting to see, but it's nauseating too at the same time. If every single day it's going to be like this.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting and entertaining as well. Sean Spicer, I think, has done an exceptional job so far as press secretary. He knows he's dealing with a hostile media who wants to twist facts to hurt the GOP and you know, distort President Trump's message. So he's constantly going to be having to fight back against that. But, you know, Sean Spicer is absolutely right. This is not a Muslim ban. If that were the case, President Trump would have had to ban, 40 countries from entering the United States. He only specifically targeted 7 nations that even the Obama administration knew were great areas of concern when it comes to terrorism. And let's not forget that Muslims are one of the biggest targets of radical Islamic terrorism. So by vetting people coming in from these terror hotspots, President Trump is actually protecting Muslims within the United States because they are also a target of these radical barbarians. And so I just want to remind people that, President Trump is not the first president to have an immigration pause. Many past presidents have done it on both sides of the aisle, and no one on the left accused any of them of Islamophobia. And so I think it's really unfair the way President Trump is being treated. And the bottom line, to your point, it could have been 40 additional countries. But here's the thing, Ebony. We know that the mainstream media has really worked hard at this war with President Trump and when he was candidate Trump. And it feels like anything that can sort of hint at racism or discrimination, they take the ball and they run with it pretty quickly.
Okay, but here's the thing. I've been consistent, Charles, in acknowledging we know there's a sense of more liberal viewpoints than most people that work in mainstream media. But this is where the administration and President Trump has to take some ownership as well. He himself has called it a ban, Charles, and Sean Spicer also on the ABC Sunday show.
Never called it a Muslim ban.
But they call it a ban. So when you say that, kind of to your previous guest's point, they have to be consistent in the messaging, because you can't get upset if we're playing semantics when you gave them semantic ammunition.
But what about the more incendiary part of this, though, the Muslim ban? targeting Muslims. You know, I mean, you could see, you understand that that's
a
the
different
more,
point. Sure.
But that's the more incendiary part of this whole thing.
And I've consistently said the best thing we can do to protect our Muslim brothers here and abroad is make the important distinction between actual law-abiding Muslims and radical terrorists who happen to pervert Islam. That is something completely different. But again, this is where the White House, they cannot make these kind of mistakes, Charles. The messaging has to be disciplined and consistent to avoid this kind of distraction, if you will.
All right, guys, let's leave it there. Thank you all very much. In the meantime, the Dow
Thank you.
extended its losses for a third straight day, dropping